Morning, students. Now we are going to revise the chapter electricity. We know that in half yearly examination we have two chapters, that is electricity and magnetic effect of electric current. So first of all we are going to revise our chapter electricity and then magnetic effect of electric current. This chapter you have already studied this chapter, so you know most of the things about it, but we are just going to revise it. Like first we have studied the current in this chapter. What is the current? Current is the rate of flow of charge. It means how much charge is flow in 1 second is called the current. So the current, I think I don't need to write the define here because you have already studied this chapter. So current means current is equal to the rate of flow of charge. How much charge is flow in 1 second is called the current. The unit of charge is coulomb. We know that the unit of charge is coulomb and that of the time is seconds. So we can say the SI unit of current is coulomb per second, or we can write also it like ampere. Coulomb per second, 1 coulomb per second means 1 ampere. So we can say the SI unit of current is ampere. This is the SI unit of current. We represent it by using the symbol capital A. For smallest unit we use the milliampere. Milliampere means 1 milliampere is equal to 10 to the power minus 3 ampere. Okay. We can also use another units like the microampere. Microampere means 10 to the power minus 6 ampere. Okay. Now this is the SI unit of current and this is the formula for the current. And what is the instrument which we use to find the current in the circuit? A meter. A meter is the instrument which we use to find the current in the circuits. Okay, so first you have learned what is the current. Current means the rate of flow of charge. If you want to find the number of charges, number of electrons flow in 1 coulomb of charge, so how can you find it? We know that 1 electron has a charge that is 1.6 10 to the power minus 19 coulomb. This is a charge of 1 electron. So if 1.6 10 to the power minus 19 coulomb is a charge of 1 electron, then how much electron will flow in 1 coulomb of charge? We can find it by using the unitary method. So this coulomb of charge is of 1 electron. So 1 coulomb of charge will be of 1 upon 1.6 10 to the power minus 19 number of electrons. You can find it by dividing these values. Okay, this is the current. Now in this chapter we have studied the potential difference. What is the potential difference? Actually, first of all we should know about the electric potential. What is electric potential? Electric potential means suppose we want to carry this positive charge from infinity to this point. So if we want to carry this positive charge from infinity to this point, we have to do some work, and this work done which we do to carry this positive unit charge from infinity to that point is called the electric potential or that point. Okay, now suppose there are 2 points A and B. If we carry the positive charge from infinity to point B, we have to do again some work here. Now what is the potential difference? Potential difference is in between these 2 points, that is from A to B. The potential difference in between these 2 points is the work done to carry a positive unit charge from this point to this point. Is called the potential difference between these 2 points. Potential difference, why potential difference occur in these 2 points? So we can say what is there in metals, or what is this which allow the current to flow. So understand this one, we have to show an activity that is suppose there is a 2 container which are connected with a pipe. Now if we fill the water in this container, now this water will flow to this point, this container, till both the container would have the same level of water. This is the same for the current. It means a current will flow from one point to another point, because if there is the number of electrons, there is the number of charges which is much higher than this point. So there is a much number of charges here and here is no number of charges. So what will happen? This charges will flow from this point to this point till both the points will have the same number of charges. So some same thing happens in these cases. Why the current flow from one point to another point? What we have to do? We have to create a potential difference between these 2 points. These are the 2 points and we have to create a potential difference. Potential difference means there should be some differences in the charges so that the current can flow from this point to this point. And for this flowing of the charges, we have to connect it with the battery or the cell. If we connect these 2 points with the battery or the cell, what happens? The charges start to flow from the positive terminal to the negative terminal, or we can say the electrons start to flow from the B to A. We know that the direction of current is a positive direction of electrons. Actually, the charges which flow in the conduction of current is the electrons. Actually, electrons flow in a conductor, so that we can say that the current is flowing in the conductor. If the flow of electrons is from this terminal to this terminal, means the electrons are flowing from B to A. We can say the current will flow from this point A to B, from the positive to negative terminal. Okay, so we have to use a cell or a battery to provide a potential difference between these 2 points. Actually, this cell or this battery provide the potential difference. पोटेंशियल डिफरेंस मीन्स वी आर गोइंग टू, यहाँ पे हमने एक तरफ चार्जेस ज़्यादा कर दिया, हमने एक तरफ चार्जेस कम कर दिया, तो क्या होगा कि चार्जेस विल फ्लो फ्रॉम द हायर लेवल टू द लोअर लेवल. जब तक फ्लो करेंगे जब तक दोनों तरफ बराबर ना हो जाए. तो दिस इज़ द मेन वर्क फॉर द सेल और द बैटरी. तो एक्चुअल व्हाट इज़ द पोटेंशियल डिफरेंस? पोटेंशियल डिफरेंस वी कैन डिफाइन इट पोटेंशियल डिफरेंस लाइक दिस. द वर्क डन टू कैरी अ यूनिट पॉजिटिव चार्ज फ्रॉम वन पॉइंट टू अनदर पॉइंट इज कॉल्ड द पोटेंशियल डिफरेंस बिटवीन दीज 2 points. So potential difference, we can write the formula for the potential difference. Potential difference is equal to work done upon time. How much work is done in per unit time is called the potential difference between these 2 points. Work done has the unit joule and the time has the unit second. So we can say the SI unit of the potential difference is joule per second, or we can say 1 joule per second is a 1 volt. So this is the SI unit of potential difference. This is the potential difference. Potential difference means we are creating some differences in the charges so that current can flow. It means if there is a iron rod, we can say that it is a copper rod. We know that copper rod is a very good conductor of electricity, and it is also has some free electrons in it, because it is a metal and metals have some free electrons in it. But these free electrons are not going to flow. Why these electrons are not going to flow? Because there is no potential difference between these 2 points. So we have to develop some potential difference between these 2 points so that the current can flow from one point to another point. Okay, this is clear. Now potential difference, we represent the potential difference by the symbol V, and potential difference is equal to work done upon the time, and the SI unit of potential difference is volt, and the instrument which we use to measure the potential difference between the 2 terminals is the voltmeter. Voltmeter. Something very interesting about the voltmeter and the ammeter. Suppose here is a circuit. I am using a bulb here. We use this sign for the bulb, and this is the connecting wire, and we know that this is the key, and this is the open key, and this is a cell or the battery. I am using the battery. Battery means 2 or more than 2 cells combined to form a battery. And this is the connecting wire. We can also use here, okay, there's a key. Now if you want to find the current in the circuit, we have to connect the ammeter in series with this circuit. It means ammeter has to be connected in series with this circuit. Means if the current is going to flow from the circuit, it will start flow from this point to this bulb as it is. Okay, so we have to find the current by using ammeter, and we connect the ammeter in a series with the circuit. Very interesting thing. And one more interesting thing about it, it is that ammeter has very low resistance. And what is the resistance here? I will explain you later. First, ammeter we connected is in a series. And what is about the voltmeter? We always connect the voltmeter in the parallel combination with the circuit, if we want to find the potential difference between these 2 points A and B, I'm marking here like A and B. So if we want to find the potential difference between these 2 points, we have to connect the potential difference, we have to connect the voltmeter in the parallel with this point AB. So we connect the voltmeter in parallel and ammeter in series. And voltmeter has a very high resistance. Voltmeter has a very high resistance, whereas ammeter has a very low resistance. These are the symbols which we use to represent some circuit diagrams, and these are the two types of circuit diagrams. One is the open side type of circuit diagram. Open type of circuit diagrams means we are not using the current here, means we don't switch on the key, or we don't switch on the key, the current will not start to going from the circuit. It means it is an open type of circuit. And what is a closed type of circuit? If we connect it means if we connect all the wires together, it means we are going to switch on the key. It means the current will start to flow from the circuit. This is the closed type of circuit. Okay. Now the next part of this chapter is the Ohm's law. I think you all know about it. What are these are the circuit components, symbols which we use to represent the circuit diagram. Ohm's law, the most important law of this chapter, the Ohm's law. Ohm's law. What is about the Ohm's law? Actually, Ohm, the full name is George Simon Ohm, was the first scientist who found the relationship between the potential difference and the current. He found the relation between the potential difference and the current by using the circuit, and this relation is called the Ohm's law. What happened if we change the current in the circuit, or if he's going to change the potential difference in the circuit? He found that the current is directly proportional to the potential difference across 2 points. It means if we decrease the current in the circuit, okay, first of all we have to know that what is the instrument which we use to change the current in the circuit, which we use to change the resistance in the circuit, is the rheostat. Rheostat is the instrument which we use to change the current in the circuit. By changing the current in the circuit, he found that the potential difference also changes. In practicals, we saw that by changing the current in the circuit, the potential difference also changes. If we decrease the current in the circuit, the potential difference also decreases. By increasing the current in the circuit, the potential difference also goes on increasing. It means potential difference is directly proportional to the current. By increasing this value also goes on increasing, and by decreasing this value, this value also goes on decreasing. So this is a relation between the potential difference and the current. And the most important part is this: the temperature should be constant. This is the most important part. You always have to write at the constant temperature before going to write the law of Ohm's law. First you have to write the at constant temperature. At constant temperature is a very important point. You have to always write it, because by changing the temperature, the potential difference, the current, actually the resistance goes on changing, so that the values are also changes. So at constant temperature, he stated that the electric current flowing through a metallic wire is directly proportional to the potential difference across its end. Again, I am going to explain you what is the Ohm's law. Ohm's law, according to Ohm's law, at constant temperature, the electric current flowing through a metallic wire is directly proportional to the potential difference across its ends. Okay. Now you have to write that if we represent the potential difference by the symbol V and the current by the symbol I, so we can say that V directly proportional to I. Or we can use a constant value. For removing this sign constant, the directly proportional sign, we have to write a constant value here. This is R into I. Okay, this is a constant. R is a constant, and this R is called the resistance. This is the resistance of the wire. It means R is equal to V upon I. Okay, this is the resistance of the wire, and the resistance is a constant value. At constant temperatures always remains constant for a given wire. Okay, and now about the resistance. Actually, what is a resistance? You have to understand what is the actual meaning of resistance. You know, when a current is flow in a wire, suppose this is a metallic wire, and we know that every metallic wire has some free electrons in it. These are the free electrons. Okay, I'm representing here the free electrons. Actually, it is in this wire. With these free electrons, from where these free electrons comes? This is the atom, and when atom, the outermost shell, when its outermost shell's electrons are removed from the atom, these electrons are called the free electrons. So what is about this atom? These atoms gain the positive charge. Okay, now it means this wire has some free electrons. Side by side, it has some atoms in it, positively charged atoms neutral atoms can be here. So these are some atoms. When these electrons start to flow from this point to this point, there is some obstacles, there is some resistance which resists the flow of these electrons, like these atoms or the charged atoms, or again all the charges, other charges. So these charges resist the flow of these electrons, and this resistance means which this obstacle, we can say this obstacle which resists the flow of this electron is called the resistance. So actual meaning of the resistance is means the resistor which resists the flow of this electron is called the resistance. Resistance is equal to you have seen that resistance is equal to potential difference divided by the current. For a constant temperature, at a constant temperature for a given wire, the value of R do not changes. And this is about the resistance. We represent the resistance by using the symbol R. The SI unit of the R should be potential difference represented by volt and current by ampere. So it should be the volt per ampere, or we can say it is the ohm. Ohm. We represent it by using this symbol like the headphones. Okay, ohms. The SI unit of resistance is ohm. This is the SI unit of resistance. Okay. Now, I have already told you that what is the rheostat. Rheostat we use to change the current in the wire. How we are going to change the current in the wire? We change the current in the wire by changing the resistance. Actually, this rheostat changes the resistance of the wire. This rheostat which we use in a circuit is change the resistance of the wire, so that by changing the resistance we will change the current in the wire. So by changing the resistance we can change the current. At constant potential difference, we can find the relation between the resistance and the current. And okay, it means if we going to double the current in the circuit, what will happen? If we double the current and the potential difference is constant at 2 points, if we double the current, we find that the value of resistance will become half. Okay, or we can say if we double the resistance of the wire, the current will become half. It means they have some relation between the resistance and the current at constant potential difference. One value should be constant. Okay, now rheostat is the instrument which we use to change the current resistance or the current in the wire. Now, what are the factors on which this resistance of the wire depend? Resistance means this obstacles which resist the flow of this current. So on which factor this resistance actually depend? This resistance depend on the length of the wire, is directly proportional to the L. L is the length of the wire. It means these are the two wires of the same area of cross sections, but this wire has a half of length of this first wire. This is the first wire, this is second wire, and second wire has the half of the length and compared to the first wire. So the resistance of this wire is also half of this first one. It means by increasing the length of the wire, the resistance also increases, because we can understand that the obstacle also increases. For the long route, for the long journey, the resistance for the obstacle for the electrons is also increasing. So we can say the resistance is directly proportional to the length of the wire. And what is about the area of cross section? By increasing the area of cross section, we can decrease the resistance of the wire. It means a thick wire has less resistance as compared to the thin wire. This thin wire has the same length as equal to this first one, but this is thin and this wire is thick. So this thick wire has less resistance as compared to this thin wire. Why we use a tungsten wire? We know that this is made up of alloy, has a high melting point, not about the boiling point, do not oxidize easily. And we know that we saw in a bulb that the wire is in this form, and this is very thin wire. Thin wire means we are going to increase the resistance of this wire. Okay, by decreasing the thickness we can increase the resistance, by increasing the thickness we can decrease the resistance. So by changing the area of cross section we can change the resistance of the wire. It means resistance change on the length of the wire, directly proportional. By increasing the length, resistance also increases, and it's inversely proportional to the area of cross section. Means by decreasing the area of cross section, by decreasing the thickness of the wire, we can increase the resistance of the wire. So on these two factors resistance depend. Another factor on which the resistance also depends is the nature of the material. We know that some materials are good conductors compared to the other one. Like the copper is a very good conductor of electricity as compared to the iron. Okay, this is the iron. So nature means what type of nature of the material which we are used to flow the current. The third factor is the nature of the material. Some materials are very good conductor of electricity as compared to the other one. So this is the nature of the material. We know that the alloys are these are the mixture of some metals, or can be a mixture of the metal with the non-metal. We can change the property of that metals. So alloys don't oxidize as compared to the metals. Metals can easily oxidize as compared to the alloys. Alloys do not oxidize easily, has a high melting point actually, and its resistance do not changes on changing the temperature. We know that on changing the temperature, the resistance of the wires changes. I explained to you in Ohm's law that in Ohm's law at constant temperature, I am forcing the point of constant temperature because by changing the temperature, the resistance also changes. But what about the alloys? Basically, in most of the cases, resistance of the alloys do not changes by changing the temperature. But whereas for the metal wire, the resistance also changes by changing the temperature. So these are the four factors on which the resistance of the wire depend. So we can write like this one. We are combining these two equations 1 and 2. We can write it like R is directly proportional to the L upon A. Okay, now we have to if we want to remove this directly proportional sign, we have to write it any constant value, and this constant value is called the rho. This is the rho L upon A. Okay, and this rho is called the resistivity. It's a very important property of a metal, resistivity. Okay, this is a resistivity. What is the main important thing about this resistivity? By changing the length of the wire or by changing the area of cross section, we can't change the resistivity of the wire. For any material like this copper or the iron or any other material, for any other metal or the non-metals, the resistivity of a metal do not changes at a constant temperature. Temperature is also you have to mention at constant temperature. By changing the temperature we can change the resistivity also, but resistivity do not depends on the length and the area of cross section. By changing the length, by changing the area of cross section, we can't change the resistivity of a material. So it means resistivity is the most important property as compared to the resistance, because we can change the resistance but we can't change the resistivity of a material. Resistivity, we can say like resistivity is equal to R into A upon L. Okay, this is the resistivity. And if you want to find the SI unit of the resistivity, resistance SI unit is ohm, area meter square divided by the length meter. We can write it like the ohm meter. This is the resistivity. This is the SI unit of the resistivity. Okay, this is resistivity. And what happens to the resistance if we change the length or the area cross section of a material? I'm going to explain with an example. Here is an example. Okay, example. For example, I have a wire of the length L. I don't know what is our length of this wire. Suppose the length of this wire is L, and it has an area cross section, that is A, and its resistance is suppose R. Okay, now if we stretch this wire, suppose its length becomes, its length become twice the initial one. We can write it like the 2L. Now the length of the wire is 2L. We know that if we stretch some wire, we are not going to change the volume of the wire. So the area, what will changes in the area, you know the formula of the volume. You have already learned in the mathematics that volume is equal to area multiplied with the height, or we can we can write here also the length. Actually, the height is for the cylindrical wire, the height is the length. So volume is equal to area multiplied with the height, or we can say here in this case is length. By changing the length of the wire, if we going to double the length of this wire, the area cross section becomes the half, because the volume of the wire is not going to change. So the area cross section now of this wire will be A upon 2. And suppose you have to find the resistance of the wire. Now you have to find the resistance of the wire. Then how can you find the resistance of the wire? The most important thing about this material is this, that the resistivity is not going to change in this case. We know that the resistance will going to change because we are going to change the length and the area cross section. But what is the most important property which is not going to change is the resistivity of the material. It means if we change the length of the wire, if we increase the length or we decrease the length, its resistivity is not going to change. So we can find the resistivity by these three values, that is resistivity is equal to R1 into A upon L. This is the resistivity of the material. Okay. Now for the second case, the resistivity is also this one, because we know that resistivity do not changes. For now you have to find the resistance R2. The formula for the resistance is equal to rho L upon A. Now we going to put the value of all these three terms, like the rho is equal to R1 into A upon L. Okay, this is the value of rho which you find from the first equation. What is the length of the wire now? This is 2L. And what is the area cross section now here? A upon 2. So you can cancel out these values. It will be 4 into R1. It means if we increase the length of the wire, the resistance, if we double the length of the wire, resistance will become 4 times. You can find the relationship between these resistance by using this formula. There is also a numerical in the NCERT book which is also like this. If we are going to change the length of the wire, we are going to double the length of the wire, how the resistance will going to change. Okay. Now again, a resistance of the system of rheostat. Now we can combine the resistance in two ways. This is the series and the parallel combination. First, we study about the series combination. Series means we have 3 wires. Suppose we have 3 wires and we connect these wires in a series combination. This is the series combination. Here is a key. R1, R2 and R3, these are the resistance of these wires. Now if we connect these wires in a series combination, series means they are connected with end by end like this. They are connected like this. Okay, these are the 3 resistance. If you want to find the total resistance of this circuit now, open the key. What will happen? How can you find the resistance of this wire, this whole circuit? Or can you find a relation with the total resistance with all these 3 resistance? Yes, we can find a relation with these 3 resistance with the total resistance of the wire. That is, suppose the total resistance of this circuit is R. Okay. And now the current, suppose the potential difference of this circuit is V. Okay. And the current flowing through this wire is I. This is the current flowing in this wire. Okay. What is the constant about these 3 resistors? The current is constant in all these three resistors. This is a most important thing that you should know, that the current do not changes in a series combination. When we combine three resistors in a series combination, the current for all these three resistors will be the same. So this is the current I, and the same current is flowing in all these three resistors. Now in this series combination, the potential difference of every resistors are different. Okay, if we combine some resistors in a series combination, we have to remember it that the potential difference of these resistors will be different. Okay, so I am representing it by V1, V2 and V3. These are the three potential difference of three resistors, V1, V2 and V3. And the total potential difference V is equal to the sum of these three potential difference, V1, V2 and V3. Okay. Now we can find the value of V1 by using the Ohm's law. V1 is equal to I into R1. V is equal to I into R according to the Ohm's law. We have already studied in the last page. So V1 is equal to I into R1 because the current is same I. And what is the value of V2 is equal to I into R2. And what is about the V3? It will be I into R3. Okay. Now put the value of these three V1, V2 and V3 in this equation V first. V is equal to IR1 plus IR2 plus IR3. Now suppose the total resistance of the circuit is R. So we can write here in place of V, we can write here like V is equal to I into R, where I is the current in the circuit and R is the resistance of the wire, is equal to IR1 plus IR2 plus IR3. Okay. Okay, now you can कॉमन ले सकते हो आप इसमें से, cancel out I with I. Now the R is equal to R1 plus R2 plus R3. It means if you want to find the total resistance in a series combination, you can find it by using this formula. Okay, what is about the parallel combination? If you combine some resistors in a parallel combination means the current going to be divided here. You know, we should not use the series combination in our homes. Actually, we don't use the series combination in our homes. Why we don't use the series combination? Because we know that in a series combination, the potential difference is going to be divided here. In our homes, basically the potential difference is 220 volt. If we connect all the appliances in a series combination, this 220 volt yani ki potential difference is going to be divided in all these appliances. So we don't use the series combination here. Again, the resistance of the circuit is also goes on increases. So we don't use the series combination of the circuit. We in our homes we use the parallel combination. In parallel combination, what is important in parallel combination? One thing is this, that the potential difference of these resistors is the same. It means if we connect it with the potential difference V, the potential difference for this resistor R1 is V and R2 is also V and for the R3 is also V. It means if we convert the resistors in a parallel combination, the potential difference do not changes. The potential difference for all the values will be the same. If we are going to connect our wall, TV and fan and other appliances like the fridge, all these combination if we connect in a parallel combination, all these appliances will get the 220 voltage. Okay, so this is the important thing about the parallel combination. If the total current is flowing in the circuit is I, so this current is going to be divided in three resistors. Current is going to be divided here. So I can write here like I1, I2 and I3. Okay, total current is equal to the sum of all these current I1 plus I2 and I3. The total current in flowing in these three resistors is equal to this the total current in the circuit. Okay, now if the total resistance of the circuit is R, okay, for this combination the total resistance is R. According to Ohm's law, we know that I is equal to V upon R. V upon R. And what is about the I1? I1 is equal to V upon R1. Why the V? We know that the potential difference of this R1 is the same like the V. So I1 is equal to V upon R1 plus I2 is equal to V upon R2 and I3 is equal to V upon R3. Now you can take common here, plus 1 upon R2 plus 1 upon R3, and you can cancel out the value of V, that is 1 upon R is equal to 1 upon R1 plus 1 upon R2 plus 1 upon R3. Okay, this is the total resistance for the parallel combination. What is about the series combination? The series combination, for the series combination, total resistance become the higher as compared to all the three resistors. If we connect the three resistors in a series combination, the total resistance become much higher as compared to these three. But in parallel combination, the total resistance of the circuit is less than all the three resistors. Okay, this is the total resistance formula for the parallel combination. So we can connect the resistors in a series or a parallel combination. Basically, in our homes, we use the series. We don't use a series combination. We use the parallel combination, because in series the potential difference is going to be divided. The resistance also goes on increasing, and in the parallel combination, we know that the resistance of all the circuits is also less as compared to all three circuits, all the three appliances. In the potential difference don't going on divided. Okay, these are about the series and the parallel combination. Okay, now the next part is heating effect of electric current, that is the Joule's law of heating. Joule's law of heating. We have learned that, we have studied that, I don't know you have learned or not, we have studied that if a current is flow if electrons are moved in a circuit, in a conductor, what happens? There is some resistance in their path. So these electrons have to do some work for their flow. Okay. Now, if the work done is much higher, मतलब इन्होंने इतना ज़्यादा काम किया कि वो जो उन्होंने वर्क डन किया है वो हीट में कन्वर्ट हो जाता है. तो क्या होता है? बाय इंक्रीजिंग द रेजिस्टेंस ऑफ द वायर, वी फाउंड दैट द मोस्ट ऑफ द alloys have the high resistance, so they can produce the heat, like the tungsten wire. Tungsten wire has a very high resistance, so due to this high resistance, it can produce the heat. Even the tungsten wire, the nichrome is also an alloy. So the nichrome wire also increase the nichrome wire has the high resistance, so it's due to this high resistance it can produce the heat. Now what is about the heat produced with the wire? So this work done which this electrons have to do to move in this wire is converted into the heat produced by this heat produced in this wire. Okay. Now heat produced for this formula, first we know that V is equal to W upon Q. W is the work done here and Q is the charges and D is the potential difference. So we can say W is equal to V into Q. And what is about the Q here? I already explained you the formula of current. I is equal to, where is this? Current. Okay, I is equal to Q upon T. So we can say Q is equal to I into T. So I am writing here I into T. Work done. Suppose this all work done is converted into the heat. So we can write here like the H. H is the heat produced in this wire. And we know that the heat produced depends on the resistance of the wire. Higher the resistance, higher will be the heat produced. So it don't depend, the potential difference actually depend on the resistance of the wire. So we can write V, we know that V is equal to I into R. So by using the Ohm's law, we can write the value of V here. It will be I into R. So it will be I square into R into T. It means the heat produced in the wire, this is the Joule's law of heating. It means the heat produced in the wire is directly proportional to the square of the current, directly proportional to the resistance of the wire, directly proportional to the time to which we flow the current in the wire. So the heat produced depend on these three factors: current, resistance and the temperature. By increasing current, we can increase the heat produced. By increasing the resistance, we can increase the heat produced, and by increasing the time to flow the current, we also can increase the heat produced in the wire. And this is called the Joule's law of heating. Okay. On this there is some numericals on this chapter in this chapter we have some numericals based on the heating effect of electric current, and these are the series and parallel combination. There are some combination of resistance. If you have any problem in any numericals, you can ask me in your WhatsApp group, you can ask me personally, you can message me, I will explain you. Okay, now these heat produced by the electric wire, we use some appliances which work on this heating effect of electrical current, like the bulb. We use the electric iron is also work on this principle, and many of the appliances which produce the heat, like the heater, it works on this heating effect of electric current. Now the electric power. Now this is the last part. I think this is the last part of the chapter, so I'm going to finish this chapter, revision of this chapter. If you have any problem about the numericals, because I don't explain any numerical here, because there is lot of numerical in this chapter, so if you have any problem in numericals, you can ask me. Now what is electric power? In class 9th we have studied that power is equal to work done upon time. So how much work you done in per unit time is called the power. But in the chapter electricity, we can say that power is equal to work done upon time, where work done is equal to V into Q. Work done by the electrons to flow is V into Q upon T. And what is about the Q? Q is equal to I into T. So V into I into T upon T. We can cancel T by T. It means power is equal to, for the electric current, for electricity, power is equal to potential difference multiplied with the current flowing in the wire. So it depends on the potential difference as well as on the current of the wire. Okay, we can also find another value and the formula for the power, like power is equal to V is equal to I into R. So another formula can be I square into R, or we can use I is equal to V upon R, so it can be the V square upon R. So these are the three formulas we can use for finding the power of any appliances. The SI unit of power is equal to watt. What is the SI unit of the power? For commercial purpose, if we want to find how much electric energy is consumed by the appliances, energy consumed is equal to power multiplied with the time. For the commercial purpose, if you want to find the energy consumed, first you have to convert the power into kilowatt. We use the power in kilowatt and time in hours. So for commercial purpose, energy consumed we find in kilowatt hour, and simply we can say it like the unit. 1 unit, 3 unit, how much unit you used in your house. Suppose 200 units. So what is the meaning of this unit? Unit means kilowatt hour. How much energy in kilowatt hour you are going to use in our homes. So for commercial purpose, if you want to find the energy consumed by any appliances in our homes, we find the unit kilowatt hour. First we convert the power into the kilowatt and time into the hours, and by changing this value in kilowatt and hours, we can find the value of energy consumed by the appliances. Or we want to find the cost of the energy consumed, we can multiply with the rate which is given in the questions. So there is some summary about this chapter, and sorry again, I am not going to explain any of the numerical here, because there is a very time limit here. So if you have any problem in numericals, you can ask me in WhatsApp. One more thing, what is the relation between the kilowatt hour and the joules? Because we know that the energy has a SI unit of joules. So what is the relation between the kilowatt hours and the joules? 1 kilowatt is equal to 1000 watt multiplied with the seconds, 3600 seconds. 1 hour is equal to 3600 seconds. So it will be 3.6 times power 6 joules, watt second, or we can say the joules. So this is the relation between the kilowatt hours and the joule. Okay, again, if you have any problem, you can ask me on your WhatsApp group. Okay, bye.